games, individual games, as much as some of the other top guys, but he rarely loses. And Wesley, he's locked in, he's in form, and he's taking his time because the position is simplified, but not simple. As you were pointing out, Fabiano, there are going to be some positions where Black may have to deal with an outside pass pawn, and that will not be easy. It's not like even material game is just a draw. If we can establish a pass pawn on the outside here, and White's rooks can start barreling down at the other pawns, I feel like that could give Nihal some good chances, because outside pass pawns distract pieces away from the center.
Yeah, I think that White's chances can only lie in a potential passed A pawn. On the other hand, if I'm Black and I see B4 coming at me, I think, okay, you want to create a pass pawn, I probably can't stop that, so I'll give you a pass pawn first. After b4, I'll play c5, and you'll probably take on c5, because you want to create that outside pass pawn. On the other hand, the c pawn is also a pass pawn, and the a pawn is kind of firmly blockaded for the moment. Of course, you never know with these pass pawns, they might get dangerous later into the game, but Black also has his fair share of chances with the c pawn, potentially even d4 coming, trade off more material and get closer to that draw. Of course, Wesley wants to draw in this game. He recognizes from the match situation that a draw is almost akin to, well, at least getting closer to a match victory. So he wants that draw. He's happy to trade off more pieces and get into a more drawish position.
Yeah, so he just slid his rook back to 8. Now it is Nihal on the clock. I'm trying to come up with ideas for White, because Black's next move, it's almost pre-movable. c6 to c5. We just point out b4 will still be met by c5. Rook to c1 going to the semi-open file, met by c5. I think the only move that I see that will not be met by c5 is queen d4, because I don't want to allow this pawn structure to be compromised. And that's not the biggest deal in this particular endgame. But Fabi, queen d4 here, I feel like that's actually an option for White, because the transition into the rook endgame, now all of a sudden if you play c5, I'm starting to wonder, can I just allow you to take me here and really try to get this outside pass pawn?
So after queen d4, which looks like a very logical move, because you want to try to change the structure a little bit, make c6 more of a backwards pawn, I actually like the move c5.
Okay.
Even though you think, okay, I'm wrecking the structure on the queen side. But the thing is, in rook endgames, this structure is actually not very bad for Black. In middle games, you have a very weak king, and you want to avoid this at all costs. In rook endgames, king safety is not a big deal, and the king is very firmly situated on g7. And if we can just go a little bit deeper, let's say White sees that Black wants to play c4, plays, let's say, rook f to c1. Even c4 here, I don't think is terrible. Let's say White takes, and b5. It's still leading to very drawish types of positions, although, of course, you know, Black would rather not do this, but the drawish margin is very, very high. Yeah, if White were to go for this one is actually...
Oh my gosh! Speaking of a high margin for a draw, they just agreed on a draw, and the position is equal, but you were just saying before, this is great news for Wesley, so he makes the most draws by agreement of any of the players in the field. We've seen that on his stat card, but the game's over.
I don't get it. I'm in a little bit of shock, not because the position was better for Nihal, of course it's not, it's an equal position, but the match situation is such that, I mean, you just have to play for a win. We said this was a must-win. It's not strictly a must-win. Of course, the match continues, and you know he'll have to win 2 games out of 4 tomorrow. But when was the last time that Wesley lost 2 out of 4 games in a match? I can't remember it. I mean, I'm sure it's happened at some point in history, but does Nihal feel comfortable in trying to play tomorrow 2 games, must-win games, just to get to an Armageddon?
Wow.
I can't imagine, you know?
And you know me, I'm always clamoring to ban the draw offer, make them play it out. But somebody who did not want to play out is Wesley So. He takes that draw, and now with it, a 3-1 lead after day 1. You could not have scripted this better for Wesley So, winning with the white pieces.